So to my guests, it is such an honor to have you both on the show. So thank you so much. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling?
Oh, good.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Of
And
course.
congratulations. The podcast is doing so well. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Me too, me too. It was a long time coming, child. I feel like when I was watching y'all's story, especially when I watched the documentary and I started tearing up because I'm just a hopeless romantic, I feel like they don't make love like y'all no more. Do y'all get that a lot?
I just think that we are choosing not to believe in love and fight for love like we once did.
Mm.
We have just, and if I can speak freely,
Yeah, speak freely.
I think it's because of our music. It's like
Mm-hmm.
everybody is talking about how you don't need love, and it's just like, wow, really? And we are the
Right.
ballads, the songs that make us hopeless romantics and make us believe that there is something greater operating that connects us with one another, that reminds us that we really need one another. Instead,
Yeah.
they my baby daddy,
F that nigga.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you heard that song too, huh?
Right, right, right. No, I agree. I think that music, because I love like old school music and I was raised on that. So I do believe that that plays a part in how we interact with each other.
Yeah, a lot. It's programming. So,
Yeah, it's
I'm
programming.
I'm hopeful to invoke the muses of our society to give us more love ballads, to help us return to each other by putting love words to the sound of the drum and draw us
Hmm.
closer to one another.
You sound like you've been listening to some Isley Brothers.
I know, right?
Catch you later on after this call.
Right, right. Now, what did the American dream mean to you both before the robbery, and how has your perspective on it evolved over time?
Mm. The
Mm.
American dream. I think that at least during the era and generation that at least that Fox and I grew up in, we know you're only 18.
Yes, I
This
am.
is before your time.
Yes.
But for a very long time, we had this image of 2.5 kids, a White House, a picket
The
fence,
picket fence.
you know what I'm saying? And we just had these images of what we thought the quote unquote American dream, looked like to us. And, just with programs that we grew up on, watching Dallas, watching Falcon Crest,
Hmm.
Knots Landing, watching Dynasty, and all of these, those were programs that were reflective of American success. And just as we were thinking that it was not something that was ascertainable for Black people, they gave us the Cosbys and proved us wrong. And
Mm.
Bill and
Camille.
Camille.
well, not Camille,
Well,
but I was
yeah.
actually thinking
Felicia
Felicia
Rashad.
Felicia
Rashad,
Rashad.
who
Hmm.
was his wife on the show. But here we are, we see two professional people raising successful children in a
Mhm.
brownstone in New York. And then we came to realize that, okay, well, damn, it's possible for us as well. Even before that, Wheezy and George gave it to us in the Jeffersons, and as poor and broke as
Good
Esther
time,
and
Good time. Hmm.
James.
James were in the projects, we still had an idea in terms of what we thought the American dream was. And
Hmm.
that is reflective of what we thought, and when we set out to live our own lives and build our own adulthood, we went in pursuit of those images, of those dreams.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would say that at least for me, by and large, would represent the social construct of what I held in terms of what the American dream is and should be for us all.
Yeah, that's gonna be my next question. Like, do you believe it's attainable for Black people?
I think that, well, yeah, I'm sorry, baby.
I certainly believe that it's attainable for Black people because we see Black people doing it.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that you just have to look in the direction of what it is that you're hopeful to see. If you're looking toward, something that is totally opposite of that, that's available for us to see as well.
Hmm.
Yes, I do believe that those things are possible. It's only because of that belief that we are possible, meaning Fox and
Mhm.
I, that we
Hmm.
are celebrating 38 years in union to one another and
Yeah.
48 years of matrimony to one another in April of this year. So with that being said, it's I was just we were just visiting my brother and my sister-in-law this past weekend, and I remember actually watching the two of them grow up. They've been together for probably nearly 50 years now. They, all throughout Fox and I's courtship, my brother
Mm.
my sister-in-law have been together, and she is now ill. But my brother is still right there with her. He's not in the streets. He's not out hoeing.
Right.
I don't nobody know about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He at least is carrying on with a level of decency
And
that
some
don't nobody
discretion.
know is dirt. But
Right.
right. But if I had to, venture to say that, he with her all the time. Even
Mhm.
when he's out, steps out, he's like, well, I got to get back home because Di ain't doing too much moving right now. So, we
Mhm.
doing too much moving. So it's that, he steps outside of himself and says, we are not moving right now. And so yes, I definitely believe that it's possible for us because I see the examples.
And I think
Mhm.
for me, it's the concept that what are we dreaming of? You know,
Mhm.
because truthfully, the best dream that we could dream of is love for ourselves,
Right.
companionship for ourselves, partnerships for ourselves. The material goods that we so often associate with the dream, even us at the onset of our marriage, we thought that the American dream was securing the material goods that we thought we
Right.
needed to get through this life, only to discover after risking our family that everything that we ever needed, we already had, and that was each other.
But
It
that's
was
how they program us.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
it
sir.
was the
Mhm.
foundation of everything that could come that was good from that. So yeah, I do know that the American dream is possible, but the American dream is not rooted in material goods. They go and come. The American dream is really rooted in our ancestors who had a marriage
Mhm.
rate that was higher than white people in this country before
Yeah.
the 1960s.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm.
And understanding too that I think that there's more than one American dream.
Yeah,
Right.
There are many dreams,
yes.
inside of that American dream, and we just have to identify the dream that speaks most to us and go in
Yeah.
pursuit of it.
Like
Damn, y'all really giving me hope, man. Because to be honest, like, and this is getting off topic, but it's on topic. Like, I'll be 38 in 2 weeks. Well, no, next weekend is my birthday.
oh,
And yeah, so even though I look 18, like they said,
you
but
know.
dating has been really challenging. Like, I don't know, like when I watch y'all story, like obviously we have the bigger topic when it comes to mass incarceration and how it affects Black communities, but like just the overall just love that really kept y'all through it. And I just feel like these days it's just not like that anymore. Like every man's for themselves, and a way that they program or they try to program us with certain things, like it really makes it challenging for you to aspire to have a family like yourself, or just that union that we all dreamed of.
Mm.
Yeah, we've become so sensitive as a people, I believe. I'm talking about as individuals and collectively as a people, to
Yeah.
the point that we seemingly can't take anything anymore. People
Right.
look at Fox and I, and they make the assumption that everything's all good over here. But it's through our struggles that we've been able to be the demonstration that other people see, because we've been able to hold on in spite of our struggles, in spite of
Right.
challenges, in spite of our disagreements. We as couples nowadays look at it and shit, we don't even have the luxury of just dissing each other in the way that we do. But
Right.
the trouble arises, we all breaking for the door.
Mm-hmm.
It wants to put up with anything anymore.
Mhm.
That's what Michelle Obama said. She was like, she
Right,
ain't like Barack for like 10 years, but she was like, I wasn't gonna leave him. Like I was just, what's 10 years to 30, 40 years that we've been together?
right,
Yes,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So did y'all ever imagine y'all love story would become what it is today?
Hmm.
You know,
She's
when
smiling.
I would have to say that what God has done through us is nothing more than nothing less than a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
One, when you are an incarcerated family, in particular, as long as we were incarcerated, our family did 21 years before we
Right.
were able to receive clemency through our governor here in Louisiana. And so most marriages don't, when you talk about marriages as a whole, 60% of marriages are ending in divorce. And so
Mm-hmm.
talk about incarcerated marriages, 30%, is less than 30% of incarcerated marriages that make it in the first 3 years of incarceration. And so what
Mm-hmm.
we have pulled off is nothing less than a feat, a miracle within itself. I think, but what we came to understand was that we were stronger together than we could ever be apart,
All right. Right.
and that four hands are better than two, four eyes are better than two eyes.
Yeah.
just two minds are better than one mind. I always reference the animal kingdom. When we see animals, we don't see them rolling alone, and dogs going in a pack, and cows are in a pride, and the herd, and even the fish swim together in school.
Right.
What I'm saying, but we get to thinking that we have the luxury to exist in this life without one another, and I just think that is the farthest thing from reality, and that is why we are struggling so hard as a people, because we are not finding a way to connect and fight for our love.
Right. Now, just to give the listener some insight, how did the two of you first meet, and what was your first impressions of each other?
Well, there's two answers to that question, depending on which one of us you ask.
Right.
So since you had the last question, I'll lead with, at least for my understanding.
His understanding.
Right, because you were somebody man when I read the book. Right.
Right.
You read the book, yeah.
Yes, but we met as high school sweethearts. I had just exited high school myself and was first tour of duty in the military. I went to the military straight out of high school. Couldn't wait to get life started on my own terms. And while I was home on from boot camp, a mutual friend of ours, she went to my church, but she and Fox went to school together. And they were ditching school. This is where the story differs from one another. They were ditching school in mine.
Right.
Right. And
see, that's how he want to understand.
They realized that they needed a
ride somewhere.
A ride back to school. And her girlfriend Wanda called me and said, well, I think she said my boyfriend or something to that effect is home visiting right now. I just called him and get him to come pick us up, to which I did. And when I got there and opened the door, Fox answered. It was her residence that I was arriving at, or that I arrived to. And when she came to the door, I am much like you. I believe in romance, and with it, I believe in that moment that I experienced what some would identify as a what do you call it? Love at first sight.
Love at first sight.
Right. Now I knew I was feeling it. She was trying to deny that she was feeling it, but I could see it in her eyes. I could feel it in the energy, and I could tell how she, kind of act like she wasn't looking at me, or, and so forth. And
he is so full of himself, isn't he?
And so, I was convinced, right, that I was going to bring that up out of her, to let her know that, this is a thing happening right here between us.
Right.
And, long story short, we ended up, a friend of mine joined me to come pick them up that day. He was also home visiting from the military as well. And he got Fox's phone number, came back to my house, and we were looking for something to do later on after we had dropped them off to school. A few hours had passed. And I was like, well, why don't we call old girl and them and see what they up to? They might want to turn a block or two with us, right?
Right.
He calls, no answer. He and I decided we're going to go out anyway. We go out, the night comes to a close. I come back home, and I remember unplugging my phone in my room before I left because I didn't want nobody else to use my phone. I had already planned.
Right.
Plan was when I got
a man with
home,
a vision.
There you go.
Right.
I got back home, I plugged the phone back up, and I hit what we had then was called Star 69.
I don't know nothing about that, Star 69.
Right.
No, I know.
Okay. That'll send you back to the last number that was called from your number. So when I done so, I called back and she answered the phone. Right. And she like, well, who is this? I said, it's Rob. And she like, Rob who? And I say, Rob, I came by to pick y'all up from earlier today.
She knew who you was.
Right.
Right.
I was like, girl, what you quit playing?
Right.
Right, hold on. She's like, wait, man, ain't you Wanda, man? I'm like, no, where you get that from? And so she said, well, that's what Wanda told me. I said, well, I'm telling you something different. I said, matter of fact,
let's call Wanda
on three-way. Right. We had options back then.
So by the time we called Wanda on three-way, I was in love. I was like, no, he didn't call Wanda for me.
Right. Wait, where's Wanda at now? Y'all still cool with her?
Yes, indeed, girl. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Wanda was pimp back when.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wanda probably could have got me if she wasn't pimping so hard. I didn't feel right.
Wanda was outside. That's what it was. Oh, that is so funny. So you both had big dreams and you both were actively pursuing them. So whether it was your clothing store culture, the comedy store, you bought your first house, and there was so much other things that y'all wanted to pursue. So how do you think that societal pressures to achieve success and wealth influenced the choices you made in 1997? Because I feel like y'all really were trying. Y'all had really good intentions.
I think that, the term by any means necessary.
Facts.
We wanted success so bad, we were by any means necessary to do what we had to do in order to achieve it. And it's what happens to so many of us today.
Yeah.
On every time you turn around is some young Black woman that's getting arrested for a PPP funds, or the credit card fraud, or this, that, and the third, all of these unnecessary things, trying to get the material dream instead of the dream that really lasts. And the dream that really lasts is the love that we carry with us on this journey.
Right.
And for us, it was no different. We believed that we deserved it. And, and we're willing to do whatever we had to do in order to achieve it. Just to come back and learn in that wisdom that the greatest gift you can have in this life is life itself.
Right.
And so you can never put that at risk for anything else.
Right.
Now that's the older portions of us speaking.
Girl,
right. 20s. See, like all people.
I was like, sexy red.
I know you were. I know you Now I know y'all was lit. Yeah. I could tell when Miss Fox, when you was in the documentary and you was like, showing face, being professional and stuff. And then when that lady was like, she said something to the effect of like, you like, did you check? And she was like, nah, I ain't check. And she was like, well, why are you gonna tell me one thing you didn't do other? And then you just started going off when you hung up the phone. She was like, he's just another nigga. And I was like, that's the Miss Fox I want to talk to.
Girl, let me
because that's frustrating. Like, why would you lie to me like that?
Right.
When you are in this system, and that's what I say about risking it all, when you think about the 13th Amendment and the only way that you can still be a slave in this country, slavery is not over.
Right.
It is alive and well. And the only way that you can be a slave in this country is if you're duly convicted of a crime. And so as Black people, all that we have gone through to be free, then the last thing that we can afford to do is to, and probably one of the things that tore my heart apart was acknowledging that with my own hands, I had subjected myself back to slavery that my ancestors had worked for hundreds of years to get out of with their own will. And so it's just a matter of us placing proper perspective on things, that how dare we insult our history by breaking the law? How dare we?
Right. So I remember when I was reading your book, you, I think either you or Mr. Rob mentioned that y'all was watching Set It Off and they planted a seed in your head. And I was watching Dead Presidents the other day, and I was just like, obviously we don't condone crime, but I can see why a lot of people will resort to it because they need to survive. So do y'all feel like filmmakers have a responsibility about the influence their stories that they put out there?
Girl, let me tell you something. So I don't know if it has been shared with you yet, but we have made a sequel to Time.
Oh, congratulations.
Business. Yes. Thank you. And it will be coming out this year. So we're really excited about it. It is my directorial debut. And it was a story that we were so intentional about telling that we raised the money ourselves to make this film. This would not be denied. And so for me, as a filmmaker, I feel like we have a duty and an obligation to tell our stories.
Right.
And when you do so, one of the things that I was sharing, we were at Martha's Vineyard Film Festival in Martha's Vineyard. And one of the things that I was sharing with the other filmmakers was that if we are in control with the narratives that we are telling, why can we tell more happier narratives?
Right.
If you have the power in your pen, you're writing the story, you're getting this story produced, why not give our stories, our people hope? It should be a rule that in every one of our stories, that at the end of that story, there is a lining of hope for our people, that we cannot continue to do this trauma porn, I call it, where they are continuing to pit the trauma in us. Our stories are so much bigger than the pain we suffer. You know, I
Yeah.
look at the movie Queen and Slim as one of the examples, and people say, "Oh, you and Rob remind me of Queen and Slim." I'm like, "No, nigga, they died at the end of."
Yeah, that's a fact.
Lena Waithe killed him. No, we are
Right,
not
right.
Queen and Slim, baby. We
Like,
still
don't put that
here.
on us, right?
You're not gonna put that on us. But if we have the power to tell the stories and sing the songs and the melodies,
Mhm.
you get to put this on the ethos of the planet. Why not let it be good?
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
that, in adding to Fox's point as well,
Add to my point.
it's just, well, when it comes to filmmakers, I think we're always kind of like looking for a place to lay our wrongdoing. But I
Mm.
think that filmmakers, it's just art that they're doing, and art imitates life. I don't think it's,
Yeah.
say, opposite way around. If those types of films, if the type of music and the types of art that we see, the expressions of art that we see in whatever medium that they choose to do it from, I think that the artist is depicting what the artist sees. It's not necessarily us acting out based upon the art that is being put out there. So I do think that, yes, there may be some ethical issues when it comes to what we're choosing to spotlight or to show as art, or how we're choosing to express certain things. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's some level of responsibility, I guess, as it relates to it. But at the end of the day, the judge ain't pick Lena Waithe up.
Yeah.
They ain't pick up Queen Latifah and them. You know what I'm saying? Or
Quentin
nothing like that.
Tarantino.
None of them.
Right.
Rob and Fox ass up and say you are one with his bank.
Right.
I'll just rob. And we had to stand for that, and they didn't want to hear that talk about. We even used at one point in my appellate process, I even tried to lean on a soft science that they have called American Dream Syndrome. Uh,
Mhm.
is a thing, but at the same time, the court was like, yeah, there also is a thing of free will, and you exercise your free will on that day to go in that bank and do what you did. So I'm going
Right.
to exercise my free will and send you.
To jail.
Right.
Right.
So
Mm.
Right.
other than that, I'm just a proponent of not looking or seeking for places to cast our blame, but to bring it back home and own it. It was
Right.
the owning of our own blame that we were able to hear our calling. Sometimes God will put us through, or the universe, whatever it is that you believe as a higher power or a God construct. I think that, when we look at it all or whatever, we're all born under a systematic, type of thing. We're all given a clean slate, so to
Yeah.
speak. And with that clean slate, just like Adam and Eve, you can make a decision through free will to break, the codes or the rules that have been set. Don't eat from the tree. Well, I'm gonna eat from the tree anyway, since I got the.
Right.
Okay, well, you also got the will to be able to deal with the sanctions.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because God is all merciful, all knowing, all present, and the likes, then salvation is always available to each and every one of us as a result of our transgressions. It is
Yeah.
up to us now, because we're in that moment to where this is where the trial happens. But as long as you stay true to the trial, salvation will come, because it always has. From every
Yeah.
character in the Bible that we've seen, from the first one to the last one, we've always saw salvation happen when you accepted wrongdoing, or accepted how you even got in the situation, and then just work through it, and then allow the miracle to be performed. I think it's
Right.
that we demonstrate to other people, you know what I'm saying, of what's possible despite
Mhm.
despite our realities.
You know that boy got that degree down there at Angola in
Right.
theology.
Right.
He ain't just go and sit in the prison. He got some
Listen,
education while he was there.
when I was reading about everything he was doing in prison, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you ain't gonna have me sitting here looking crazy. Like, we gonna make some
Okay.
shit happen.
Right,
Like,
right.
you
Yes,
was doing
indeed.
programs. You had people,
Yeah.
mamas coming to see them. I
Putting
was
on
like,
Right.
marathons. Yes.
marathons. I was like, wow.
Life don't stop life, and just because you're in the pen.
Yeah,
Unless
that's
you
a
let it,
fact.
of course, because you got the right to do that too.
Yeah, that's a fact. So when everything was going down, did y'all ever question and be like, yo, we really about to do this shit?
Yes.
The entire time until the very last moment. And it was just like nobody had the courage to say, okay, no.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this concept of the best wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
and what makes the best wife. And in that moment, I've always felt that I faltered in being the best wife to my husband, because if he couldn't think clearly, then certainly
Mm,
my maternal instinct should have kicked in to say, you know what?
this ain't it.
Lose you. It's a chance. And the chance how big of a chance we're taking here is not a risk that I'm willing to take on you, because I don't want to lose you. You know?
Right.
So I think though when we deal with each other in our, community, the same thing with mothers, and they know that their sons are dealing drugs, and not understanding that their sons are far more valuable than any dollar they could bring in their house, no matter
Mm-hmm.
how no matter what economic constraints they're under. No dollar that child brings in the house is going to be more valuable than that child being in your presence and in your life, keeping that child from being removed from you. Nothing is worth that. Nothing is
Yeah.
losing a family member to this system.
Speaking of mothers, I feel like your mother still feel a way about everything.
Girl, if you're watching on the end of that documentary, you would think that she was. I think that over space and time,
Yeah.
my mother just thought I deserved better. She,
Mhm.
felt like Robert did that, go let him do that time.
Yeah.
Those things mamas want to protect, right? She didn't
Yeah.
understand that this is my family. We did this together, my husband and I. It wasn't like he went and did something and I found out later. I mean, we were intimately involved in this whole transaction. So not only did I have a duty and an obligation because he was my husband, but he was also my fall partner. And
Yeah.
and above all, he was my baby's daddy's,
Yeah. All
And
six of them.
all six of them.
Right.
And
Right.
so, with that being said, if he is there, then that's what our Christmas is. That's what our Thanksgiving
Right.
is. That's what our Easter is. It's with my family, no matter where my family is. That's
Yeah.
where we are. And so, when Rob came home, probably 2 years before he came home, she started emailing him on the JPay system that they had. So that was a really interesting thing to watch them start developing a relationship together.
Hmm.
Came home, and then after he came home, in that moment while we were filming, I think it just was
It's a
overwhelming
lot. Yeah.
to like take in, like, wow, he is really here. I don't even know how I really feel about this. But
Hmm.
there, we left home last week and she baked him a whole bag of tea cakes.
Okay.
And called today talking about she was gonna bake him a pound cake. So
No,
yeah,
that's good. Because I was
yeah.
like, come on, mom, we here now. We 21
Oh,
years
let me
in.
tell you
Like,
something. It was just the fact that they had really never been able to spend time with one another
yeah.
and get to know each other. After Rob and I married, 6 months later, we had found ourselves in this system. And then this system took 21 years of our life from us, 21 years of our family from us. And so now it's just beautiful to watch her. I have to send you a picture of this pound cake she made yesterday. But
Yes.
it's beautiful to watch her because my mother took sick last year. And so Rob
Mm.
and I have been up in Shreveport taking care of her full time until she got back healthy. And one of the medical episodes she was having, we had to call the firefighters out. They come out and they're trying to get her to, see if she is cognitive.
Right.
And they say, well, who is this? She says, Robert Richardson. And the firefighter said, and who is he to you? She said, my son-in-law. And yeah, Barbara had to pick up and put it in the car. She looked at him, she said, Barbara, you picked me all the way up.
Okay. I gotta come visit y'all in Louisiana, man.
We down here in New Orleans anytime. Your pretty brown
Yeah.
girl, we'll take you all around town and show you all.
Okay, okay. Be the third wheel, okay?
Okay, you
We
know
love
Super Bowl coming up.
Super
I
Bowl,
know,
Mardi
I
Gras.
You
know.
won't be a third wheel. You'll be part of a party.
That's right.
Yes, because I know
That's
y'all get
right.
lit.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Rob, did you ever have a conversation with your dad before he passed away?
Good question.
My dad and Fox's dad were both living with us.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but just before this, well, actually
When you,
during when this incident happened. Uh,
Mm,
so it was really at a moment that me and my dad were really finding our way back to one another. When I came home from Bonn, my parents, not my parents, my siblings rather, had
mm-hmm,
my father into an old folks home. And so he was
mm,
one of the first people that I went to see when I got out of jail on bond. And when I went to go see him, old folks' homes remind you so much of prison. They smell the
Yeah.
same. The
There's no
people,
life in there at all.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just a lot of the same old stuff. And it really, it really bothered me to see him in those, under those circumstances, because the father who I have in my mind, in my experiences through life, I mean, he's always been, a provider. A lot of people talk about
Mm-hmm.
being raised by a single parent mom. I was raised by a single parent dad
Mm-hmm.
for a long time until he remarried. And with that being said, like I said, I watched my daddy raise, 8 children of his own,
Mm-hmm.
under one roof. Although he had gone through 5 different marriages, his children were never separated from one another. My mother
Mm-hmm.
raised all of his kids. He reared them, as a father, gave them discipline, bought cars, paid for schooling, paid for clothing, paid rent, housing, just all the things, that when we think about a good dad. And to see him in this state moved me and Fox to the degree of saying, like, you know what, I'm checking him out of here.
Yeah.
It was against everything that my siblings, had really put in place and were hopeful for. But like I said, he was my dad, and the father that I know may not necessarily be the father that my siblings know, because I
Mm-hmm.
experienced my dad during a time, when he was a different dad, much in the same way that my
Okay.
oldest child experienced me as a different father.
Right.
He experienced Rob pre-prison.
Mm-hmm.
My last 3 kids, they experienced the dad, the transformed dad, or the newly refined father version of me.
Right.
So, that makes a big difference. But to your point, yes, we did have some conversations. The problem was, is I just hate that we didn't have them earlier, because we were having conversations at the time that he was going through a mental deterioration stage. And I just don't believe that the communications that we had with one another was
Mm-hmm.
quality of the communication, quality of a communication as we could have had either one of us thought to ignite that relationship earlier. So
Right.
for the military, my dad and I had a strained relationship. It was one of the reasons that I left and went to the military less than
Mm.
2 weeks out of high school. And it was the quickest way that I figured that I could care for myself, provide
Mm-hmm.
a roof over my head,
Be
have food,
grown.
travel, be grown, and, kind of live on my own terms. Absent my father was to join the military. And I did so. And shit, to this day, since that day, I never went back home after that.
Yeah.
From 18 to now being 55, I've never gone back home. But it was because of the fact that there was a strained relationship, like I said, between my father and I, up until I finally went to prison and realized that he was more valuable to me than I had, felt, prior to that. And so I started to seek to build a relationship with him. But like I said,
Mm-hmm.
like in most situations, it's too late
Yeah.
sometimes. It's when we think that we
When
can
you come
kind
to
of make up for
terms.
lost time.
Yeah. How did this affect y'all relationships with your siblings?
Oh, girl, which ones? His and mine.
Right.
Well, both. I know y'all come from
Both.
large. Yeah.
Oh man,
I know for me, it's more of a thing because I'm 55 and my oldest brother is like 80, 81.
Oh wow.
And so my closest sibling to me in age is my sister, and my youngest sister, but she is like 7.5 years my senior.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, like I said, they grew up with a different father than the one that I know. So
Right.
there are moments and times where they want to talk about my dad in ways that don't reflect the dad that I know, and I find myself taking up for him in those moments.
Right.
No, that's not how that worked. Or even my brother-in-law, me and him bump heads a little bit, in terms of, how he likes to talk about my dad in ways that are not reflective of who my dad is. He has this one thing that he's been holding on to, seem like forever,
Mm-hmm.
about him, my dad having had his oldest son, my brother-in-law, and my sister's oldest son, and they brought the child, my nephew, to our home, and my dad cut his hair. And he had this hair that was all over his head and all of that. And to this day, that had to be what, 50
50
years
years
ago
ago.
And
now?
he's
And
still upset about that?
my brother-in-law is still talking about the fact that my daddy cut his hair. I was like, nigga, he was supposed to cut the nigga hair.
Right.
You saw how he was looking? Did you not see how he was looking? Y'all keep bringing
Right.
kids over here looking like this. They need discipline. Somebody needs
Right.
something.
You
So
know, them
no, you're
old
not gonna
school
shit
men,
on.
they don't play that. Like, you
Hey,
better
you ain't
come
gonna
on.
shit on my daddy. 'Cause,
Right.
So our relationship with our siblings, to answer your question, has really been a unique one. When you bring that kind of embarrassment on your family, it is hard for
Yeah.
to conceive.
Mhm.
I came from a family of educators. Nobody in my family had gone to prison. Rob came from a family of military servicemen and women, and the same thing held true. So this atrocity that we committed, this sin against our family's name, it was a lot to take on.
Yeah.
And it still is a lot of healing, I think, that is in the process of being done, but you just continue to be a demonstration of what you believe, and knowing who you are, and then love heals all things in time.
Right, right. I know they be with y'all now because y'all lit now. So
I'm home 6 years now, and I still have what was one of my close siblings, because she raised me after my mom transitioned. My mom when I was 5, and as a
right.
result, I ended up staying with most of my siblings off and on at some point in time through, probably from age 5 to maybe age 9 before I moved back in with my dad full time. But that being said, she was like a maternal person to me. She wasn't just my sister; she was my mother. And
Right.
that being said, when I came home, she and I have never, we hadn't seen each other yet. To this day, she still has some, I guess, some undealt with
Resolve.
issues or resolve or whatever as a result
Really?
that I made, that I made about my life that didn't necessarily impact her in any kind of way, so that I could see,
Oh,
what I'm.
wow.
But at the same time, like I said, she is still holding on to a stance, of keeping
Distance.
separation and distance, between us. Now we've communicated a few times. She wrote me maybe this long letter about maybe 3, 4 years ago.
Three.
She wrote me this really long letter,
Mm.
and I read the letter and ultimately ended up writing a letter back to her. But like I said, so doing, I realized, in that moment, or it reaffirmed to me in that moment, that we still have some undealt with issues as it relates to our relationship to one another. So it's been, as Fox may mention, it has been quite the challenge.
It's a
Yeah,
work in
that's kind of hurtful. I would
Mm.
definitely feel a way about that. Like, girl, come on now.
Yeah.
Listen, you do not know what other people are going through. So the
Right.
best
Yeah.
you try to do is not judge, but what you do is you say, well, that's on you. That's not me.
Yeah.
One of the things that I admired so much about Rob, when he first came home, he called all his siblings. Now, keep in mind, in the 21 years he had been gone, his siblings three of the 8 had visited him over the 21 years.
And
Wow.
those three, only one of them visited more than once.
And of that time frame, that was at the very onset of his incarceration. I'm talking about like
And that was
in
the
the
sister.
first 5 years.
And that was the sister that visited me because her nephew was also
My fall
my
partner.
fall partner.
Right.
He was really coming to see him.
See her son. Right.
Right. But, since I'm here, I might as well see my brother
See both of
too.
y'all.
Right.
Right.
Right. But this thing right here, he called every last one of his siblings to say, I'm home. I love you. And, this is my number. Just wanted to make sure you have it in case you want to reach out to me. That was, he could have come home and like, they ain't do nothing for me. I didn't
Right.
from them. They didn't send me nothing. They didn't come see about me. How could you not come see about me? And I'm the baby boy. I'm the baby brother. And nobody saw about me. But he let all of that go and picked up the phone, called every last one of his siblings. And I was just like, what a man.
And even
Yeah.
when we were on tour and we landed in their city, I would call and say, I'm in your city. We're speaking at, this university with, a film interview or whatever, in the event that, that you couldn't make it to where I was, I'm yet a little closer to you.
Right. Right.
In Angola, but I got out of
Yeah.
Angola. You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Not only am I out of Angola, I'm in San Antonio, I'm in Texas, I'm wherever you at,
Right.
So if you want to come see me, I'm here.
But I
So,
always felt like you had a calm and graceful spirit about yourself. Like obviously there's a part in the book that we'll get to later where you your energy and your spirit kind of shifted for obvious reasons. But I always felt like you was kind of like level headed through
mm,
everything.
mm,
Yeah.
I've always trying to maintain a certain level of calm, and it
Yeah.
takes that level of calm to be able to handle a fireball like Fox. You know,
Yeah.
he'd be 0 to 100. You know what I'm saying?
Now, what changes would you like to see in the criminal justice system to prevent excessive sentences? Because you was a first time offender, but you was sentenced to 60 years in prison without parole, probation, or anything.
That's right. So me, as you mentioned, and then my nephew the same. First offender sentenced to 45 years. Fox, a first offender, sentenced to 19 years.
That is crazy.
Like I said, it was a thing, but as
And
far
it's
as
still a thing and
right.
more common than not. And that's what we discovered, as going into the system. It's just that what happened to us, it was more common than it was uncommon. And that was what was really painstaking.
And what is most common, I think, for us in American society is slavery. And if it's the one thing that I would be hopeful for that would change about the criminal justice system is that we would remove the exception clause out of the 13th Amendment. I'm not saying do away with jails because I spent time with people in jail for more than 2 decades, and I know that that is a place that sometimes we need to be.
Right.
I would be the last person to be on a bullhorn somewhere till I let them all go.
Right.
Some that need to they need to bake a little longer.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm saying that I don't think that slavery should be the motivation. Yes, separation, isolation, those types of things. Yes, I believe in those things. I believe in sanctions for wrongdoing. I believe in penalty, for errors. But at the same time, like I said, I don't believe that you have to enslave a man or a woman as a response to a transgression. So that's one thing that I would be hopeful for is that if we could take that part out of it, I think we then take the profit parts out of prison that motivate the people who run to want to run them, because now it's no money left in it. And if there's no money left in it, then we can get to the rehabilitation part of it, which is what it was supposedly designed for.
But do y'all think that the prison system is capable of being reformed?
I think that it's not the prison system, it is the heart of the people who created the prison system.
Right.
It's the heart of the man. The system is just a reflection of the people.
Right.
We put the policies in place. So we can't blame it on the system. It has been perfectly organized and designed to do exactly what it is doing.
It took 100 years to follow England's example of slavery. Over in Europe, they got rid of slavery over 100 years before we ever acknowledged that it was wrong here in America. And even though we acknowledged that it was a wrong 100 years later, we still wrestling with,
remnants,
the cleanup part of it. We've changed the policies, we've changed some things around, but at the same time, we have not changed our heart, and how we feel about the institution of slavery. But yes, I do believe that all things are possible.
Right.
It just takes a little time. And, I'm just kind of noticing, just looking around, when it comes down to it, I just think that, we have to get to a place as a society that we start moving away, from our insatiable appetite that we seem to have for the institution of slavery.
Right. But I love the fact that y'all in your book, y'all mentioned that a white man did the exact same thing and he got 3 years. So why is it that a black man should get 60 years while our white counterparts get less than what we have, and he's able to go back into the world and try again?
And so for me, I think the one thing that I would like to see change, aside from the 13th Amendment being amended, is federal sentencing guidelines.
Right.
They have federal sentencing guidelines. You do this, you get a point for this, you get a point deducted for this, that, and the other. But there is structure to how they are sentenced. And here in Louisiana in particular, that operates under the Napoleonic Code, they have no guidelines. They do how they feel. Right. So if you come into court today and LSU or the Saints have lost, they actually did a research to show that judges in particular in Baton Rouge were giving people heavier sentences whenever LSU didn't win a game. So those types of I think it's those types of experiences that we need to get some eyes and ears on. But one of the things we got to do, we got to understand it as far as being Black people ourselves. Louisiana has Black judges than any other place in the United States. but yet we
Mm.
have the highest prison population in the whole world. So if
Mm.
our people that are in power are making the same decisions to be harsher on us or as harsh as their counterparts, then what
Right.
are we to do? You'll be so surprised that it is actually Black people that will be the first to say, "Oh, lock that nigga up."
Yeah. Yeah. Damn. Whew. So while incarcerated, where was some, did y'all ever feel like less than human? Because I know, Miss Fox, before you went to jail, you gave birth to your twins.
Girl, I did. I did.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the most painstaking things for me. I used to lay in my bed, and you can't cry when you locked up. If you cry, they see some type of
A
emotion
weakness.
in you,
Yeah.
they will put you in lockdown and on suicide watch or in solitary confinement. And so I would get under my covers at night, and I would just cry my heart out because I missed my.
Mm.
And I knew that I had forfeited on my responsibility as their mother, that my mother was having to take care of my children because of choices that I made. One of the things I take my pride in is being a good mother. I brought forth that life, and it is my responsibility to protect it, to nurture it, to guide it. And here I was with my own free will. I had
Right.
removed myself from my children. And so that is to me just one of the most heinous things that you can do to babies, mother or father. And so it was really difficult for me. That was the most difficult part about my whole experience, was that I had removed myself from the care of my children.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Mr. Rob?
Um, Prison is definitely a inhumane place, but as
Yeah.
me personally, probably the very first night that I arrived into the prison at Angola State Penitentiary, that is, uh,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the spirit of our ancestors was all up on me because it was in those moments that I really tapped in, to the people that were able to come across those waters,
Mm-hmm.
feces, nasty, dirty, or whatever, but still had their heads held high, still had their
Right.
shoulders rolled back, still
Mm-hmm.
remembered that where I came from, I was a king. Where I came from, I was a queen. Where I came from, I was human. Where I came
Right.
from, I was whole. Where I came from, I was God-fearing. I was all the things. So when I came to slavery or when I came to Angola State Penitentiary, it was just some things that I was not willing to forfeit. I realized that there were some things that were contraband that I couldn't have, that I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
to walk with me, but my dignity, my pride, and my self-respect, I took that with me everywhere I went inside of the prison. So no matter who I was talking to, who I dealt with them. I dealt with them.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things. I led with all of those things because I knew that that place was designed to
To break.
break me. It was designed
Yeah.
to break my family. So that was the indoctrination or the programming that we did with our kids through the power of truth, letting them know that this is your reality. We are an incarcerated family, bop, bop, bop,
Doesn't make us any
doesn't make
less
us any
than.
less
Right.
than others or whatever. So don't you let no kids at school be shitting on you about nothing, make
Right.
you feel bad about nothing, this, that, or the other. You get into class and you perform better than others in the class. So it was just that way that we kind of approached this whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
As
said,
I said, best in time movie, success is the best revenge.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Is the best revenge.
That's a fact.
When people intentionally make it so that you can succeed and you succeed anyhow, that's what I love about Black people. We
Mm-hmm.
succeed anyhow.
Yeah.
No matter what.
So when you see me in the film of Time movie, streaming live on Amazon Prime Video, you
Yes.
see me walk out of the prison. You see me walk out of the prison with a never give up T-shirt on. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
gave me that T-shirt. It wasn't because the prison was trying to pass on that kind of messaging for people on the outside. It was because while I was in graphic arts, I made that shirt for myself, put it up
Mm.
for myself, and knew that on the day that I walked out of there, it was going to be the thing that I wore exiting this prison, because it was going to say to the rest of the world that I never gave up while I was in here.
Listen, I know they miss you at that prison because you had them busy. I mean, you did a lot of great things for them. And I think that's the reason why prison, when people get out of prison and the percentages of them going back is so high, because you're not offering them any tools or resources for them to get back into the society. And I think that what you was doing was really amazing. And you was also treating them as people. Like, regardless of what they did, people should be treated as such.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a
Now,
movement going on in prison. It was a love movement. It got to a point where when Fox kids would come visit, I ain't never heard so many people, murders, killers, rapists, and the whole 9 yards. Every time that we would exit, we would leave or whatever. It was like, man, I love you, bro. I love y'all, Fox. I love y'all.
oh,
Just those words, just not words that you hear in prison.
right.
But I would have to say that during my tenure of my time there, that men had found their way to that word.
And then you also kind of soften them up because you also mentioned how you was starting to notice that you was starting to become hard because of prison as well.
Mm-hmm.
So did you ever struggle with feelings of bitterness knowing that your wife was free while you were still incarcerated?
No, my bitterness at the highest level was probably with God.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I really felt like, if God is all these things or whatever, how and why is it that I'm being left to experience this? I was just like Jesus was on the cross, saying,
Right.
God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Yeah.
The way that you can move this bitter cup and let somebody else drink from it, you
Right.
have no qualms with me, but surely I shouldn't have to drink the vinegar, huh?
Right. Right.
But it was just one of those moments for me, that I felt like, my resentment was more so there than it was, um, with any one individual. I blame the judge, I blame the DA, I could blame a whole lot of people, but it was in those moments that when I wrestled with God, God gave it back to me and say, nigga, you ain't got nobody to blame but yourself. And when I
Yeah.
realizing that I was to blame because it was my choice, it was my free will, it was in that moment that I really started to be able to see myself bigger than the prison because I knew that I was here on mission. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was going to be here until my mission was over, but
I,
I would not die here.
I know you probably was like, come on, God, I got these niggas in here singing Kumbaya. Like,
Right.
you gotta let me out, God. Like, come on now. I got the killers in here saying they love each other and shit.
Right,
Yes,
right.
yes.
So, Miss Fox, what were those moments what was those moments that when you struggle with hope and how did you find your way back to it? Because you was going hard. I was like, nah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you really was riding hard from him for 21 years. Like, I was like, it really made me just so proud to be a reflection of you as a Black woman. But like everything that you stood for, like you figured it out. Like you was changing tires, you was selling cars. I was like, yeah, you was going to different schools, you was selling food and you can't cook. Like you was like not playing no games.
For me, it was one. I think this is where most people don't really see the bigger picture. Is I wasn't just doing it for Rob.
You doing it for your kids, your family.
Our
Yeah.
whole family was on the line here.
Mhm.
My 6 sons deserved an opportunity to grow up with their father. Nothing that we had done was heinous enough to remove him for his lifetime.
Right.
And so I was not going to allow the state of Louisiana to keep him. So that was what I had my eyes set on. And I mean, my blinders, nothing else
Yeah,
mattered.
you was tunnel
Not,
vision.
that's the only way you can listen. One time, Rob put it as clear as I could get it. One time, he says, we are taking on, what did you say, baby, about $1 billion? What was Louisiana's budget at the time?
Mm.
28 billion.
So when you are fighting a state case, you are literally fighting the state. So
Yeah.
like it says Robert Richardson versus the state of Louisiana. The state of Louisiana got a whole $28 billion budget. So we are taking on the whole state for our life and liberty. So when you are really keenly focused on something, David and Goliath is the same measure. You can't be scared of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You just got to deal with it and understand that whatever you need, God is going to give it to you in that moment. So for me, for our family, never once did we ever believe that Rob would die there. Never
Yeah.
did we ever believe that he was not coming home. So every year we had a ritual at the beginning of the year. We'd be like, okay, this is the one right here. I know we thought it was last year, but
Right.
last year. So now it's going to be this year. So all right, y'all, let's get all, to get yourself all hoped up all
Yeah.
again after you've just been crushed by the end of the year, that what you said you were going to do last year, you didn't pull off, and to repeat that for 20
Yeah.
years, that's another level of tapping into your higher power. But what it shows us is that the race may not be for the swift, but those who endure to the end. And so I
Yeah.
look back over, where I could have left, but then just look at how if I
But you
would have,
tried to leave.
I did.
Right. I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Like, come on. You stressed out in there. I was like, you got some nerve.
I tried. That still can't go nowhere. Listen, I'm leaving and still down there at the penitentiary trying to see about this man and get him home,
He was going to marriage counseling. I was like, no, we're not doing this, y'all. You need to get back with your man. So walk us through the process of leading up to your release. And how did you know that your time was coming to an end? And do you miss them? I know you don't miss prison, but do you miss the relationships you made?
I do miss them tremendously. Because when you think about spending that much time with a group of people or any number of people, I've spent more time with people in prison than I've spent with people that I actually share the same time with. We've been through hard times, and we've been through good times, and the whole 9 yards inside of prison. You see people at their lowest moment. And it's in the lowest moment that you really see the core of who the person is. So in those moments, like I said, I got to know a whole lot of people at a different level. The way that I felt leading up to this point, because like I said, it has been a ongoing, arduous journey, to our ultimate release from prison walls. But it was maybe about a year prior to me going up on the pardon board. That son Freedom, one of our twin boys, was out one night at an engagement at one of the local colleges, and they had a speaker there. The speaker was Frank Luntz, and Frank Luntz is a Republican pollster, or at least he was then a Republican pollster. And my son got up and asked him a question in the midst of it all, and in so doing, he said, "Hey kid," he said, "don't go nowhere." He said, I'm gonna change your life." And so my son left, and he went out, and because he was on mission for his mom to go get some tires changed that you was talking about for one of the cars that they had for the car lot. And so he went out, and then after he told his mom was like, "Boy, if you don't get your butt back in there," and
like, what are you doing? Right.
He went back in so doing, the guy ultimately ended up asking Freedom whether or not he would join him for, I think, a cup of coffee or something the next morning. After he found out Freedom's age, he invited his mom to join him in that setting, and he ended up having a conversation with Freedom. Fox had already prepped him before they went into the meeting, and after they got there, the guy asked the ultimate question: "Freedom, what is it that I can do to help you?" And Freedom had a laundry list of things that he wanted. It was maybe 3, maybe 4 things that was on his list. At the top of his list was help with getting his father out of prison, whether it was through a measure of law that we had been pushing through the legislature, or some other measure that we were working on. But then he went on to say that I'm asking you for this, not necessarily for myself, but for my younger brother, because I believe that he has the right to grow up with our father in the home. He deserved the thing that we had been denied. Frank, true to his word, spoke to our governor, and the governor had agreed to sign my pardon in the event that I passed the pardon board. The interview with the pardon board. And so a year before I ever went up on the pardon board, I already knew that I had the governor's signature. It'd be like going up for something and you already know you got President Trump's commitment to sign once you go through whatever the preliminaries are in order to get it to his desk. So I knew a year out, so I started building. The thing that I started building was my last marathon. The last marathon was that it was the theme of it was finish strong. So that last marathon that we did in the prison was the theme of it was to finish strong. And I gave a speech out on the yard to all of the brothers that were out there. We had maybe about 500-600 brothers that came out on the yard in order to,
they thought you was Martin Luther King right there.
I know, right?
You was the savior in that jail.
Yeah, so it was just one of those moments. I went before the board, and in so doing, I got the favorable recommendation. It didn't come with ease, but I did get the favorable recommendation. And no sooner than I walked out of the hearing, word had already spread down the walk that I had made it. Everybody was waiting to see if I was going to make it or not, because this wasn't just my pardon hearing. This was the pardon hearing for everybody in the prison.
Right.
Pardons have really become a thing of the past, following, just governors moving away from using that power. It just really became a thing that was, hardly ever seen.
Obsolete.
Yeah.
And for me to make it, gave other men hope as well. So the security officers, everybody was high-fiving me when I came back down. But it was a bittersweet moment ultimately when I walked out of the prison that day, because I knew that I was leaving behind a lot of men that were equally deserving of this opportunity that I was now getting. So in our second film, I mentioned a thing called Survivor's Guilt. And
Yeah.
real emotion, for people that have either gone away to war. That's usually how we associate it, but it's also associated with men or women who have experienced low times together, and kind of live through it, and then you escape or you manage to get away from it. And if everybody didn't come with you, you kind of feel a way about the people that were left behind. So that's how we ended up starting our organization, PDM NOLA. Which is an initiative that we started shortly after I came out of prison. We turned it into a nonprofit. The idea we turned into a nonprofit, and it's where we teach legal awareness as the best form of defense to people who are justice involved. And we've been doing the work now for about 6 years.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
we judge the success of the work that we do by the amount of time that we save someone, opposed to the amount of time that they've been sanctioned to serve. And to this date, we've saved well over 3,500 years of people doing time here in our state alone. And because we are one of 40 organizations that exist around the country exercising this model, we've saved more than 25,000 years of people doing time throughout the country. So it's
that's
the way
amazing.
it's our way of giving back to the people that are that we left behind. So many of the people that are left behind, crazy enough, that had life sentences, I get to see now because that effort has brought a lot of them home. And so we was just at a ball the other night, and they had this one brother that used to work the concessions when we were in prison together. Had an astronomical amount of time, but every time that I see him, it warms my heart, because I'm like, man, we was in there together. So I see him all the time moving about. I'm like, man,
yeah.
we made it.
So you have to come down and celebrate us and attend
No,
the
I
screening of our new
am.
film. Yes.
No, I am definitely. I was gonna say that off the screen. Like I said, on the screen too. When you get the date and stuff, let me know and I'll fly down.
Please
And I'm
do.
serious. Yeah.
I'm serious too. So make sure I got I think it may be in the email, but make sure I got your contact information so I can keep you posted.
Yeah, I can't give it to you over the air because these niggas is crazy.
I know, right?
Okay, we almost finished.
Marry you off, Ed.
Right. When I trust her, I don't trust these niggas. I trust my audience, but got some weird niggas listening. Okay, we almost finished, but I'm really enjoying y'all conversation. How do you think enduring such extreme challenges has deepened your love for each other? Because y'all still in love, like I see it.
Right.
He all right. Be calling me out like that. Yeah. I think that anytime that you have gone through as much hardship and overcome it in the manner that Rob and I have, with every obstacle that we embraced and overcame, it made us deeper connected in a way that is impermeable. So it's like you just I don't know, man. We think alike, we laugh alike, we each other's sentences. Is just I think the biggest thing is I'm just glad on this life's journey. At this point, I have not my bank account doesn't reflect a few $1 million, but my journey, my light, and my love is brighter than most people I know. And that's because I've had an opportunity on this journey to know love, and to be loved. And so that's what I probably would say that I'm most grateful for, is that through all of those hardships, what they say, what don't kill you, make you stronger.
Makes you stronger, yeah.
It has definitely made our union stronger, and have allowed us to serve as a demonstration of love to so many other people that, this is real. You just got to commit to it.
Yeah.
I mean, rocket science is not easy, but it is damn sure worth it.
Yeah.
Goodness, Fox.
Okay. Just gave her a kiss, y'all.
Right.
What about you?
I would have to say much of the same. I do
Mm-hmm.
believe that the experiences definitely made us stronger. We've been faced with some crazy challenges, and when again, like you said, you consider that well over 60% of all marriages end in divorce within 3 to 5 years, and they
Mm-hmm.
do so for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But God knows separation through life sentences would be probably good cause by most people, to be
Yeah.
a reason that you would say, you know what, maybe this ain't right. We might need to go on and divorce. But the fact that we chose each other every day,
Every
um,
day.
to move forward through life with,
Mm-hmm.
again, like I said, has made us strong, stronger than probably either of us could have ever imagined. And so it's just, again, like Fox made mention, it's really rewarding
Mm-hmm.
to be able to serve as a demonstration to so many other people. To the where that when they say that thing about your relationship goals, it
Yeah.
was funny that when our film first came out, they had a number of celebrities that invited us out to LA to come kick it with them. And Kenya Barris was one such celeb that,
Mm-hmm.
he was so motivated by our love that it made him want to, be in love. And
Right.
like
Love deeper.
love deeper.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't, there were so many others that, basically said similar. And like I said, to see that your love has impacted, and that was just the love that they witnessed on the screen. That wasn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily knowing us on a
What they
day-to-day
experience
basis.
in person.
Right, but
Right.
vicariously, they realized that, man, y'all make me want to love.
Yeah, yeah, same, same. I can't wait to get a man. Okay.
A man can't wait to get you, Ev, because you all
Listen,
that
that
to
I
me
know.
free.
That I
Yeah.
know.
You get
Yeah.
that number out over this line, you're
Yeah.
gonna find out.
Right, right.
Girl, I've been digging you.
Right, right. So being that you've been home for 6 years now, going on 7, what was the hardest part about coming back home?
It is. Probably the hardest part of coming back home was the culture shock.
Yeah.
When I left prison, everybody was wearing baggy clothes and, doing
The
things a certain
90s.
kind of way.
Yeah.
The mid 90s, the golden era of hip hop. We were kind of doing things a certain kind of way. And when I came home, it's like all those things were not happening anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
moment, that I had to go through, most of the women that I saw were naked or,
Yeah.
half
They
naked.
still naked.
I know. Well, I'm saying that's what I came home to.
Right. Oh,
When I
yeah.
left home, women were wearing baggy clothes. They were
Yeah.
more covered, and men were less revealing, and just all the things. But just many of those culture shocks I came on to when I left prison. They didn't you used to pump your own gas before when I went to prison. You got to keep in mind that when I went to prison, I went to prison 2 years on the other side of Windows 95. So
Mm.
by the time I had
Yeah.
came home, MySpace was a thing and was no longer a thing, by the time that
Yeah.
I came home. So, it's just like all the technological advances had happened. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needed and depended on a cell phone. I had what, 20, 30, 40, 50 numbers committed to memory. People out here, you lose your phone, you can't
Oh, it's a
contact.
wrap. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because all your numbers are in your contact list, and so those things were like challenges to me. Just getting past the tech curve, and when you're in prison, tech is it's a security risk. In
Yeah.
ways. So as a result of it, they don't prepare you, to
For a
reintegrate or to
modernized
come
world.
back. So it kind of again mirrors what we
Mm-hmm.
know of slavery. Most slaves were released from prison, but I mean released from slavery. But in so doing, they were not educated in the ways of the community outside of slavery. So they were ignorant uh,
Yeah.
to many of
Illiterate.
the
Couldn't read or
things
write.
outside of. So when I
Hence
came
the reason why
home,
they go back.
exactly,
Right.
and
Yeah.
with that being said, when I came home, I was illiterate to a lot of the technology and the ways that business and things are conducted. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to get a crash course. Thanks God for my youngest son because he kind of gave me a whole lot of game and
Oh,
gave me
I know
some
they caught you up quick.
right.
Somebody
So
speaking
yeah,
French in the household. I'm like,
But
oh,
right.
listen, by the time Little Rob taught him how to send emojis and the oldest taught him how to send memes, he was all in.
it's a wrap, right? It
Oh my
ain't take
gosh.
no time.
But aside from that, even our relationship was challenging. When Rob
Yeah.
came home, and we talk about this in the new documentary, when he came home, he wanted space. And when he came home, I wanted somebody to hold me. I had been alone for 21 years.
Yeah.
And so, I was looking forward to the moment when we would hang out in the shower and
Yeah. Just have
all
that
of
intimacy.
and
Right.
all of the things. And he's like, whoa, hold up. I've been showering with 100 men in my dorm. I've been using
Right.
the bathroom with sharing 5 toilets with 100 men and 5 face bowls. I want
One
some
TV.
yeah, I want some space, and it was
Right.
what? Wait, what? Hold up. This is not what I was, thinking. So we had to work through that. It's like we had been married for over 21 years when he came home, but we hadn't been together as a husband and wife. So we were like trying to even figure out how many times do married couples have sex?
Yeah. Well, listen, in the documentary, I'm like, I know they're not about to have sex on the screen, y'all.
Let me tell
I was like, come
Listen,
on, y'all.
camera,
Right.
get out of my way, baby. That was the
Right.
first time I had touched that brother unrestricted in 21 years. Oh, yes.
Right. Right.
Yes,
I'm like,
that's
I'm
the first
surprised you.
thing I need to do is connect, Lord.
I'm surprised you didn't get pregnant.
Right, right.
Right.
Yes,
Okay, so
indeed.
what's one thing that y'all learned about yourselves throughout this journey?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing that I learned about myself is that my capacity to love continues to grow.
That's a good one.
I mean, I really didn't think that I could love any deeper, further than than I had. Uh,
Yeah.
with each passing day, with each passing year, I come to the realization that my capacity to love, continues to expand.
Mm,
Mhm. I think for me, it is nothing is impossible.
facts.
Mhm.
Nothing is impossible. The only thing is impossible is if you don't try. But I
Hmm.
believe that all things are possible with love. All things
Hmm.
are possible.
When I finished the book and I read your documentary, the first thing that came to mind is the phrase, my life is not my own. And I feel
Mm.
like y'all journey embodies that. So do y'all feel like despite everything that y'all been through, y'all went through it for others to give them hope?
Mm. I can certainly say for sure that God has used us and turned our message
Yeah.
for others. And I'm
Hmm.
just hopeful, we're thankful to be here on your podcast, because we get to share with your listeners, this journey in hopes that their lives will be changed and they will see that love is something that is tangible and possible for all people, but in particular, Black people, and it's necessary. And so, with that being said, when we meet people whose marriages we've helped, when we inspire other people to love, to heal,
Hmm.
hope, yeah, then it makes it feel like it's all been worth it, that it's bigger than
Right.
Rob and I.
Mhm.
Mm. And last but not least, what does love mean to you now compared to when you first met?
Mm. Love for me, when we first met, I think was this warm, fuzzy kind of feeling that you feel when you always want a person around. Uh,
Yeah.
you don't really have any clear understandings of it. It's that I think they have various divisions or degrees of love. You know,
Hmm.
the romantic kind of love that you feel that makes you where you can't stop touching the person or whatever.
Right.
You have that philia type of love that Philadelphia gets its name from, that brotherly love. Then you have that
Hmm.
be kind of love, which is a God kind of love, and and so forth. But I do believe that Fox and I have gone through different degrees of love,
Yeah.
one another, to the point that I call it an anchor love.
Mm.
And I call it the deepest mind state when you think of love.
Hmm.
It's the thing, it anchors us. And I think in the film, in the film, the first film, I closed out by saying that love, if it could be an acronym, that it would be life's only valid expression. So
Hmm.
it's gone from this warm, fuzzy thing or whatever that we feel, and when we're having that puppy kind of love, to
Hmm.
other thing that, that it is life's only valid expression. So
Right.
that's like a deeper, more committed and assured kind of love that happens, that a lot of us don't get an opportunity to see because we don't go all the way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm really looking forward to building a relationship with y'all because this was absolutely a treat. So, and I'm also just very proud of y'all Seriously, y'all
Don't be
really,
proud of
yeah.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you, thank
Ebony.
you. Yeah. And to
So we
the
try-
listeners,
Yeah, 'cause we're trying to figure out how you get an iHeart podcast. Like what you got to do to get one of them. So we was
I'm
like,
a
okay, you got to be special. So
I
we are
mean,
definitely proud of you. What it is that you've been able to achieve.
Yeah.
thank you.
And it's
By
just the
any stretch of the
beginning.
imagination is a milestone.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
again, as you
No
may
small
mention,
feat.
we look forward to getting to know you deeper as well.
Yeah.
Believe that we too could learn from you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think y'all's story is the perfect example of why we should share our storylines because you never know how it can be somebody else's lifeline.
Yes,
For
yes,
sure.
yes.
So I really appreciate y'all. And to the listeners, if you want to know more about our guests, want to support their book or their documentary, please make sure to email me at hello@thephgpodcast.com. And until next time, everyone, later.
Later.
You ain't gonna say bye, Mr. Rob?
Oh, I know if that was my cue or that.
Yeah.
Yeah, love y'all.